If you were driving through Washington, Georgia, you might pass this beautiful old brick building without realizing just how important it is. This is the Mary Willis Library, and it has been standing here since the late 1800s. But this isn't just an old library. It was Georgia's first free public library, and inside this building is a remarkable collection of history, including a Tiffany stained glass window, a chest connected to the Confederate treasury, and some of the most valuable genealogy and historical resources in this part of Georgia. So today, we're going inside to find out the story of the Mary Willis Library. Before we begin, I want to apologize for the audio in this video. Unfortunately, I had an issue with the original recording, so I had to recreate the narration with voiceover. I appreciate your understanding, and I hope you'll stick with me as we explore the fascinating history of the Mary Willis Library. The story begins in 1888, when construction began on this building. It was the gift of Dr. Francis T. Willis, who wanted to create a lasting memorial to his daughter, Mary Willis Jones. The library opened its doors in 1889. And what made this library especially remarkable was that it was intended to be available to the public without the subscription or membership fees that were common in many libraries at the time. That made it Georgia's first free public library. This original door right here is just so beautiful. It is definitely one of my most favorite features of the Mary Willis Library. It's so stunning. You really need to see it in person to understand how beautiful it is. The building itself is a work of art. It was designed by Atlanta architect Edmund George Lynn in the Queen Anne style, with its distinctive warm brick and elaborate Victorian architectural details. The building reportedly cost about $15,000 to construct, with another $2,000 spent on the original furnishings and books. That's over $600,000 in today's economy. Dr. Willis also established an endowment to help keep the library operating. So from the beginning, this wasn't simply a room full of books. It was designed to be an institution that would serve the community for generations. One of the most beautiful features of the original building is this incredible stained glass window. The 3-panel window was created by Tiffany Studios. The center panel represents Mary Willis, while the 2 surrounding panels feature Homer and Shakespeare. And I think there's something especially fitting about that. This entire building was created as a memorial to a young woman, and her memory is literally built into the architecture. And as beautiful as the building is, it's what has been preserved inside that makes this place so fascinating. Now, we're certainly going to take a look at that beautiful stained glass window from the interior. But before we get to that, there's a lot to take in, even as you enter the entrance in the front. A photo with the library covered in snow, well, that is a rare sight in this part of Georgia. And that is a beautiful drawing of the library. And this old photo in the original part of the library in front of that stained glass window is beautiful. And then you have different stones and geodes. Those would be locally found, and an old map. Really neat. And then you have a dedication with a photo and a plaque for Charles D. Sagas, Ph.D., 1928 to 2001. This is from his students at Druid Hills High School. There's just so many little small trinkets and cool little things to look at, all parts of history. I'm trying to show you guys as much as I can. And these viewing glasses to me are really cool. I could probably look at this stuff all day, but let's enter the main part of the library and see what else we can find. The original portion of the library dates to the 1880s, but the library has continued to grow. It remained a private endowed institution for decades before becoming a part of the regional library system in 1967. Then additions were made in 1977 and again in 1991. Those additions allowed the library to expand while preserving the historic core of the original building. And in 1972, the Mary Willis Library was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. And now that we're inside in the original part of the Mary Willis Library, you can see that beautiful Tiffany stained glass window. The colors are just so vibrant. Just like that big beautiful door, this is something I really wish you could see in person. And on the bottom of the center glass, you see it says Mary Willis, born 1838, died 1883. This is just so gorgeous. I wonder what I have to do to get my husband to get me a stained glass like this in our home. Do you think he will? So let's get a nice close-up here. You see on the right that beautiful image of Shakespeare. Center, you have a beautiful image in memory of Mary Willis. And then on the left, an image of Homer. So perfect for this library. But there are some things inside this library that you probably wouldn't expect to find in a library, including this old chest. It is traditionally believed to have been associated with the Confederate treasury during the final days of the Confederacy in 1865. According to the story, the remaining Confederate treasury was being moved as the Confederate government collapsed. Whether you're fascinated by Civil War history, local history, or just old objects with a story behind them, something like this gives you a tangible connection to the past. You're not just reading about history in a book. You're standing in the same building looking at something that has survived it. And here's the interior of that big, beautiful door we already saw from the outside. So beautiful. They don't make it like this anymore. And then there are all the little details that make this place fun to explore. Even a stuffed moose has found a home here. And of course, I have to show you the children's area. I have great memories of a child myself coming here, and I just loved coming in this area. I was lucky enough to have a mom that just loves books. That's where my love of books comes from. We were at the library often, and I always enjoyed this children's library area. But what really interests me about the Mary Willis Library is what's sitting on these shelves. Because this is where the Mary Willis Library becomes especially important to me. I'm always looking for kinfolk, and when you're researching your family history, it's easy to assume that everything is online. It isn't. There are county histories, family histories, old newspapers, cemetery information, local records, maps, books, and other resources that can contain clues you may never find through an online search. And that's why places like this still matter. A library like the Mary Willis isn't just preserving books. It's preserving the history of the people who lived here, the families, the communities, the stories, and sometimes, if you're lucky, you find one of your own ancestors hiding inside those pages. And that's exactly what I'm here to do today. I'm going to spend some time looking through the resources here and see what I can find, because you never know what or who you might find when you start digging into the past. The Mary Willis Library opened its doors in 1889. More than 130 years later, it's still here, still serving the community, still preserving history, and still giving people like me a place to go looking for kinfolk. And honestly, I can't think of a better place to spend an afternoon. If you enjoy history, genealogy, and following me as I dig into the stories of the people who came before us, make sure you're subscribed to Finding Kinfolk, because you never know where the next piece of your family story is going to turn up. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.